Hello there, and welcome to Thank the Maker, a podcast about heroes, princesses, scoundrels, hokey religions, ancient weapons, and all things Star Wars. I'm Adam Russell.
Hey guys, I am still a part of this brand, and I'm Ryan Key.
So back, baby! Hey, I'm Nick Gambarian.
Hey, it's
Hi,
Mike
Nick.
Forster. Hey, what's up, dudes? Ryan, you're back. You're back. I've kept the seat warm for you. You're back.
You have your own seat to keep warm, bro.
I had to make a new
Somehow
seat.
Ryan Key returned.
Only 21 minutes late.
We don't know. Well,
Yeah.
as you can see, since we are live on the YouTubes, I don't have a place to work or a studio or anything anymore because I'm building a new one. And I'll try to make this a long story as short as I can. The desktop in my studio is so big. It's 9 feet wide by 3.5 feet deep. So to get it into the new room, we had to have like a 6-man team put it in through the window opening before they installed the window because it won't make it up the stairs and turn to get it out. If we ever move, I'm going to have to take the window out or cut it in half, or I don't know what I'm going to do.
Blow the house up.
So, or just blow the house up. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
throw a thermal detonator up there. And let it
That sounds
happen.
like a fun
But
thing.
so anyways, I had to get the desktop up there. So that forced me to take the whole rig apart way sooner than I normally would have. So that's why you see this lovely space I'm in. It's our construction overflow and just everything has exploded.
It's fine.
I can't even see back there.
But I was 20 minutes late because all of my stuff was packed. I thought I was just going to open my laptop and throw my webcam up. But look, see this broke and shipping. So this
Oh,
won't
yeah.
stay on the back of my computer.
Oh,
So I can't. So I had to find a stand that had the right screw thread for the Elgato for my face cam, and it would, yeah. But
Hey,
I'm
that
here.
reminds me of the Uber ride that I took home after having an incredibly uncomfortable flight home on 2 hours of sleep from the tour. And I'm just barely staying awake, broken foot, just wanting to get back to my house. And the Uber driver is 9 minutes from my house. There's 2 turns left. And his phone goes, boom, falls off because his mount just broke. Shit hit the ground. It was under his seat. He had to pull over, dig it out, try to put it back on. 5 minutes on the side of the road just going, just waiting to get home. So,
I was
yeah.
just waiting to get back to you guys. You know?
yeah,
oh,
that's all you wanted.
oh,
And here we are.
oh.
So here I shall sit for the next several weeks on Thank the Maker in my dining room.
It's good. It's BTS.
Yeah. It's nice and echoey for the actual podcast. This is great.
This is my
It's great.
favorite.
It's the best.
I like it.
It's the
You
best.
know what? Since you're at the table, you're having wine, you might as well just weekly have dinner, just, with the fam,
On this podcast,
just do the meal.
babe. Adam says we
The
should
meatloaf.
have dinner at the table during podcasting live on YouTube together. What do you think?
Show us the dog.
I
No
love
response.
Star Wars.
Just no response. No response.
We're not invited to the
Silent
party. That's
treatment.
nice.
Can I tell you though, Wife of the Year award for yesterday? She knew how pumped I was for this show, and I was cramming to finish Rebels. I watched a lot of it on tour, but it's 22 episode seasons, and I
Not
couldn't
nothing.
watch. Well, it's my own fault because I was trying to game and stream and stuff during the day when I could have been watching that full time. So I watched most of it at night when I would get in my bunk on the bus, and I'd watch 2 or 3 and fall asleep. But anyways, I had a decent amount to get through when I got home. When did we get home, Adam? On
It's a blur.
a few days ago, Friday, Saturday, something
Something
like
like that. Yeah.
that. I don't remember, but I
Over the
had
weekend for the trip.
I had a lot to get through before last night, especially when they changed it. I mean, I remember I texted you guys oh, this is not good for my plan to have to finish by Tuesday at 9. But anyways, Wife of the Year. She was just I get it. Enjoy. Take your time. We went to the beach during the day early to so we could have some hang time. And then she was she just set me free. She just let me, she took all my pictures for Instagram with my sabers. Just
Gotta
super
binge.
supportive.
Babe,
super
gotta binge.
supportive, man.
Great job.
And then I finished season 4 of Rebels. Took a 10-minute break to do it for the gram, the photos,
Yeah.
and then started Ahsoka right after the end of Rebels. It was
I'm sure you're the only
surreal.
person on Earth who did that.
It was surreal.
Literally watched the season finale of Rebels
For the first
10 minutes
time.
before
I'm
you-
sure
Yeah.
people watched it on
Rewatch.
they'd
I
already
watched it
seen it.
the day before. Yeah.
Yeah, but
For my
and I'm
first
sure
time.
people watched it right before they started Ahsoka,
Mhm.
like you watch Rogue One going into A New Hope. But
Yeah.
I might be in a very small percentage of fans that watched Rebels for their first time right before Ahsoka
Binging
started.
the whole thing, yeah.
So basically, I was on the couch for 6 hours yesterday, getting ready, and then watching Ahsoka included. It was a whole ass Star Wars vibe yesterday.
Well,
So-
if you, viewer or listener, want to hear Ryan's take, like just the verbal diarrhea of emotions about Rebels, we're going to do that as a Patreon only thing after this. If you can't watch it live, we'll put it up as a video.
You got some of it last night in my like wine-soaked, THC-fueled, immediate just euphoria.
Yeah.
I
was
watched
crying,
it back and
dude,
I watched
tears.
it back and I was like, I thought I was going to sound a lot more inebriated than I was, but I was definitely vibing. You could tell I was vibing for sure.
It was
It was
nice.
good. It was really good.
Well, in like a 30-second, like I don't think there's going to be too many people who are watching a Star Wars podcast that probably haven't been caught up on Rebels. But I posted to my own personal Instagram, and I'm like, how many people watched this show that didn't know anything out of animation? And I had a couple people be like, what should I watch before it? And I'm like, oh boy, well,
Yeah.
well. So Ryan, what would you say? As someone who just did it, obviously a lot of people aren't going to binge it, but like, what do you think that you were missing contextually, like in terms of saying like, what is your elevator pitch for getting people to watch Rebels? Because you were fairly, I don't want to say resistant, but you just had not prioritized it. So now what is your elevator pitch to watch Rebels?
Well, I think if I'm pitching it attached to Ahsoka specifically, like if that's the reason for the pitch, let's say I wasn't a part of the podcast and I didn't have you guys urging me to watch it and all. I saw the trailer for Ahsoka, and being in the know in the way that I am, knew that those were all characters from Rebels. Like I know who Sabine is. I know who Hera is. I just didn't watch the show. So I saw them in the trailer and was convinced that I had to watch the animated series, because if I'm going to be invested in the story that they're trying to tell around Ahsoka, that story is clearly connected to Rebels, undeniably connected to Rebels. So I think they actually did a pretty good job of the exposition you might need to still enjoy watching it through those first 2 episodes. But my level of investment in these characters cannot be overstated.
Yeah,
I'm going to go on record now and say that Rebels is in another galaxy from Clone Wars for me.
Oh,
Agreed.
wow.
I'm fully there, too.
I was like blown away, just like moved to my core time and time again. So
Hey, if you're not convinced, viewer, listener, by that, I'll give you the one sentence. This is the pitch I would give. The Ahsoka series is Rebels Season 5.
yes.
So
No doubt.
if you want to jump into a series at Season 5, be my guest. But you will be better served by starting from the beginning.
Yeah, I was talking
And it's
to
not that many episodes.
friend of all of ours, Brooke McDonald, and she saw the premiere the same way I did last Thursday. And I spoke to her, and she was like, what number % would you put on, like, how much you would need to have seen Rebels to understand the impact of Ahsoka? Because I think that that's really what you're missing if you just watch an essential episodes list and you don't spend time with like every single episode, like you miss the impact. You're probably going to be smart enough to know what's going on, but you're just going to miss the impact of it all emotionally. And she was going as high as like 75% of things in the Ahsoka premiere that would be like kind of over your head. And I don't know, it's a lot. It's a lot for sure.
you know how there was this definitive episode list for Clone Wars? Because what you really need from Clone Wars is Ahsoka and Anakin.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan, but really the 2 of them. So there's this list that cuts it down to, what was it, 40 something episodes instead of 100 and something. Yeah. That list does not exist for Rebels. Now that I've watched it, can say with confidence, there's no. We use the term frequently on this show, Monster of the Week. There wasn't one in my opinion, there wasn't one Monster of the Week episode.
Yeah, you
Rebels.
can maybe lose 4 episodes out of the whole thing.
The thing about Rebels, and we talked about this a little bit last night on the Instagram live we did, They have 24 minutes, so it's very fast paced. And the one thing, if I have to critique anything about the show, the one thing that I got a little exhausted of was the catch and release, because it happened so fast every episode. And that's the nature of the Empire versus the Rebels, right? I get it. Like there's prisoners escaping and then winning the day, right? But it happened so many times, and for the most part, there were part 1, part 2 episodes throughout the series, but for the most part, they were standalone and were resolved by the end of the episode. For the most part, right? Out of a 22 episode season, 18 or 19 of them were a new idea that was resolved by the end of it, and it was usually we have to go save this person from this thing, and it happened. It was just like boom. But I understand, like you mentioned last night, they had to run with that pacing because of the time that they were given. I mean, and dude, that's why the last episode being 40 minutes long, it was just like, it was such a payoff to live in that episode for that long at the end, especially after World Between Worlds. Dude, what a show, man. We're here to talk about Ahsoka, though.
Okay. Dude,
I'm sorry.
You got to stop so you can give the patrons a little something extra.
Okay.
That's a man who's just powered through Rebels. So if this isn't selling it enough,
and also a man who was just found out in this instant that he's supposed to save some for the patrons. So.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, that's enough of that.
There's plenty more.
There's plenty more where that came from.
Yeah.
Let's just do. We could talk forever about, like, we have to get down to business. So let's do stolen plans.
Oh my.
What have you done with those plans?
Guess what we get to do on stolen plans that we haven't done in a long time. Opening crawl.
Yes.
Ryan
in
Key,
red.
put on your theater voice. Let's
You ready?
do it. Yep.
How cool is this, by the way?
Dude.
It was
So-
in red.
In red? Dude. Yeah, and unbelievable. Again, put yourself in just this whole conversation. Just try to put yourself in my shoes. Like,
They won't fit. I'm too tall.
just you're taller than me. You have bigger feet than me. But anyways, yeah, the red crawl starts. I'm fresh off the last episode of Rebels. It was almost too much to handle. Anyways, the evil Galactic Empire has fallen, and a new republic has risen to take its place. However, sinister agents are already at work to undermine the fragile peace. A plot is underway to find the lost Imperial Grand Admiral Thrawn and bring him out of exile. Once presumed dead, rumors are spreading of Thrawn's return, which would galvanize the Imperial remnants and start another war. Former Jedi Ahsoka Tano captured one of Thrawn's allies and leaned? You type leaned, not me.
Learned.
Former Jedi Knight Ahsoka Tano captured one of Thrawn's allies and learned of a secret map, which is vital to the enemy's plan. Ahsoka now searches for the map as her prisoner, Morgan Elspeth, is transported to the New Republic for trial.
It's a good one, and it's in red, so it gets extra points.
So good.
Oh,
And
Mark
no one
the
was
intern with that
expecting
leaned
Yeah.
right there. Got him. Got him.
I know. Got him.
So this, of course, debuted yesterday at the time of this recording, August 22nd, 2023 on Disney+. Written by Dave Filoni. As far as we know, the entire thing written by Dave Filoni, right? We assume there's probably got to be like a co-writer at some point.
He's
These
only
first two were-
directing 1 and 5. I read.
So part 1, Master and Apprentice, directed by Dave Filoni, just like Ryan just said. A valuable prisoner escapes New Republic custody. A search for answers reunites two old friends. Part 2, Toil and Trouble, more on that later, directed by Steph Green, who did some on the Watchmen series, or all of it, not sure. Worked on the Book of Boba Fett as well, Man in the High Castle, Luke Cage, and The Americans. Did anyone watch The Americans?
Americans is fantastic.
I've watched it twice all the way through.
So good.
It's insane.
So
One of my favorite shows of all time.
I started to, tried, was a little thrown off by the set design. It didn't quite look period accurate to me, and my OCD went crazy. I fell off. Sorry.
Well, shows get more money when they get bigger, and then they can be better at that stuff. You should try again.
I'll try again.
Yeah. After that, I was ready to be a KGB agent.
Dude, what a program. Oh,
This one is described on Disney Plus as Ahsoka and General Hera Syndulla travel to the New Republic shipyards and make an unexpected discovery. Discovery is capitalized. Did they watch Wicked Tuna or something?
Nice.
Starring, of course, Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Harrison Dula. Fun fact: wife of Obi-Wan Kenobi himself. Natasha Liu Bordizzo, Sabine Wren. She was in a few episodes of a show called The Society on Netflix. She was in The Greatest Showman. She was also in, it looked like her first role ever, Crouching
Yeah, she
Tiger,
must
Hidden
have been
Dragon.
young, huh?
The Sword of Destiny was a Netflix sequel. And for those who are bummed, I was a little bummed at first that Tia Sircar didn't get the part. Tia Sircar being the voice of Sabine in Rebels.
Dude, she crushed.
Natasha has a black belt in Taekwondo,
She crushed.
and she crushes. She's like
I'm
really nailing
crushed
it.
it.
all about Sabine.
Yep.
So impressed with how she's portraying what has already come before in the animated
fan
Sabine
club.
character.
Yep.
A minute.
Ray Stevenson as Balin Skull. Rest in peace. He was what's the name? There's a typo of. He was in the Thor films. Forgot the name of the character. Starts with a V.
What?
Volage or something like that.
Oh, right. right.
It typoed. It autocorrected to Voltage. That's not his name. He was in the 2011 remake of Three Musketeers, and he is best known to Star Wars fans, Star Wars animation fans, as the voice of Gar Saxon.
I think it was the Punisher at one point.
He
too.
was Punisher.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yep.
Died in
Man,
May. At
I'm already.
58.
I hadn't seen too much of him. Unfamiliar with him, and
Dude.
he might have been my favorite. You know, like my biggest new character takeaway. Like I'm so impressed, and then conversely, so bummed that he has passed on in real life.
yeah.
He's
One
he's
of-
so good in this so far.
One of his best roles ever, Rome on HBO.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He
Fantastic.
plays Titus something, but he's a very like integral part. He's a lead on that show.
Yeah.
3 seasons, Rome, 2 or 3 seasons. I can't remember. It's short. It's a short thing, and I don't know if it ended early or whatever. But either way, when they announced him for this, I know he's done all that other stuff, but I don't know. That show really struck a chord with me when it came out 20 years ago or something. 25 or 15 years ago, something like that. And yeah, I was immediately like, oh, dude, this is going to be insane. It's
Yeah.
going to be amazing. He's
Not
such a
quite
legend.
like Skarsgård and Andor level, but he looks like an amazing actor. Like
Yeah.
he pulls
damn
me
good.
in whenever he's speaking.
Yeah.
The part that makes me sad is like you could see for actors, especially for like voice actors, right? I think there probably is like, especially like Ashley kind of broke out of that. Like she became this character, and like Vanessa Marshall and a couple other people like weren't. You might see them at Celebration, but you might not, right? So like Ray Stevenson obviously isn't known for being a voice actor, so it made sense that he wasn't really involved in like the Star Wars side of coming to Celebration as Gar Saxon's voice, right? But like you saw him at Celebration this year, you could see how overwhelmed he was by how excited people get about someone joining the Star Wars family. And my heart breaks for his family that he's gone, and that of course that he wasn't able to see what that excitement this fandom has for that, because that guy could have retired tomorrow and just showed up to conventions and had Star Wars people pay for the rest of his life. Seriously, it's I have a feeling his performance is going to bring that out. So it's a
By the end
for
of this is his. I mean, I'm sure he is going to get on a level. I mean, the dude he's a very talented performer.
Yeah.
So we're going to see some intense performance from him.
The name of the character in the Thor films is it was right here in Discord. Oh, come on, Volstagg or Volstagg.
Look at you in the quoting the MCU.
The Pajamarai patron in Discord. Thank you. Let's see. Ivana Sakno. I'm going to go with that as Shinhati. She played Kat Monroe in High Fidelity series on Hulu.
She might as
Not
well
a
be
ton
an
else.
Olsen, right? She looks like
Yeah, like
either of the Olsen twins.
a super Scandinavian Olsen.
Yeah.
One of the Olsen twins mixed with what's her name from Die Antwoord? No, anybody?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's her name? Crazy or yeah, I don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about. Ninja.
yeah. Those people are, yeah.
Not endorsing
Diana
that.
Lee Inosanto returning, reprising her role as Morgan Elsbeth. We talked a bunch about her when she first appeared in The Mandalorian, so go back and listen to that episode. David Tennant as Hu Yang, the voice. He also voiced him in Clone Wars, but he's best known as the Doctor for more than 6 seasons of Doctor Who, and returned a bunch in the seasons when he wasn't the main Doctor. So he's a big deal on that series for anyone who's into Doctor Who.
You gotta love a droid in like a good leather kilt vibe, you know?
It's whatever. droid needs.
Droids that put clothes on, basically. I mean, it's really special.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't want to expose their private parts.
Yeah, it could mean only one thing.
No circuits.
You ever
Clancy
see that
Brown.
C-3PO Tops card?
Yeah, right.
Where he's
Goldenrod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe me, it works.
Clancy Brown reprising his role as Governor, well, in this case, Governor Ryder Azadi,
Amazing.
coming back from the animated series. He was the voice. And I don't know if they designed the character with his face in mind, with the intention that one day he would be in live action, but
I got to assume so.
Or they
Sure
were
looks
just
like
like inspired by it. They were like,
Yeah.
yes, you are the character. We're gonna
Iconic
just-
face.
We're
Like,
going to do that.
right.
He's been in everything, too, you know?
yeah.
He's been in
Yeah.
every Star Wars.
Have we
Yeah.
have we put a
It's
list
like his
together?
third role.
Have we put a list together of how many people have played two people?
He's played
on
3.
live action.
2 or more.
Oh, not live action.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like live act. Like how many?
Yeah.
Like he's probably the most decorated multi.
Well, he's done 2
person.
in live action.
That's what
Off
I
the top of
mean.
my head.
Yeah, he was Berg, and then he's Ryder Azadi now. So,
Yeah.
are there any other actors that have done both?
I mean, if you count like no, I don't know.
Technically, Jeremy Bulloch,
Yeah.
right?
And then
he was 2 people.
sorry. Oh, come on, brain. Jesus, Jar Jar, come on.
Yeah.
I'm
at
at best. Yep.
I'm at best. Yeah.
So, all right, so 3 people. This is not unfamiliar to Star Wars for people who are
So I'm
very
telling you.
talented to do multiple characters. Okay, I like it.
And then a few smaller ones. This is obviously going to be a bigger role later, but Iman Isfandi, I think is the way you say his last name.
Mm-hmm.
He's Ezra Bridger, only the hologram right now. Hopefully, we'll see lots of Ezra.
Remember
And
how they
then-
just did that? I'm sure we'll get into that, but just
How
right
they just
away.
How they just nailed
right
him.
away.
Like here you go.
There you go.
There's
Right away.
Ezra Bridger, as you know him. He's right there.
Wonder if he's going to show up in the show. Oh, okay. First 10 minutes. Great.
Vinnie Thomas as Senator Jai Kel. I just saw him recently as Omar in Platonic. Anyone
Yeah.
watch Platonic on Apple TV Plus?
I
Laura
saw him
loved
like
it.
he
She
had
loved
some
it.
big like viral TikToks during the pandemic.
Really?
That's where I first saw him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool. I like that guy.
Same.
Seth Rogen show and what's her name?
Rose
Helen.
Byrne.
Rose Byrne. Yeah, Helen from Bridesmaids. Helen, yes, yeah.
One of Padme's handmaidens.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's true.
Look at that, Star Wars. Shelby Young, who's done a trillion voices in Star Wars, voices C1D1, one of the protocol droids. And then lastly, someone who has done so much stuff. He's that guy. The captain at the very beginning, Captain Hale, is played by Mark Ralston. He's done a ton of TV, a lot of procedural crime dramas, some Star Trek. He was also Private Drake in Aliens. Ryan, remember this
Sick.
at all?
Yep.
Delahunt in The Departed, Agent Russ in Rush Hour, Hans in Lethal Weapon 2, and I think he would most readily be recognized as Boggs from Shawshank.
Another
He's been in the
Shawshank
game.
actor.
He's
great.
been in the
Dude,
game.
his IMDb is a mile long. He's
The
just one
thing
of those
is-
I
dudes
think
who's just been working.
I think we need to add someone to this. It
I
could
was
also be
just-
in the den.
I'm
but
there. I'm with you, Nick. I was just going to say, Adam, you said this was the
I
lastly,
think-
but I
are we
think
talking about the same last person?
We're
as
talking
one
about
of
the same-
the red protocol droids in episode 2.
Okay,
That's
hang
the den.
on.
Let's save it for the den.
You sure?
okay.
Save it.
You
I mean,
Sure.
he's a
Okay.
cast member. It's listed.
Yeah.
It's
he's a
in the
cast member.
credits.
Go ahead.
There it is.
Nick, do it.
The LCO of the 501st Legion, Justin Sonfield.
A friend of the pod, a friend of pretty much
all of
everybody.
us,
Like
friend of everybody.
A friend who
the
gives
raddest
me
dude.
really expensive Jonathan Adler candles that smell really good.
and
What a guy.
Chris Bartlett, who's played literally every droid ever in live action, is once again stars as Red Protocol droid in the show too.
Long overdue for Sonfield.
So cool.
Well deserved.
I bet that was pretty cool. Pretty cool day.
Yeah,
Pretty
nice,
cool.
nice little day. Yeah.
And then the score, talking about long overdue, well deserved score by Kevin Kiner, who scored all of Clone Wars. The dude, he's just, well, he and his sons are the team. I don't know what his sons do specifically, if they, they write little motifs with him or if they're engineers or what, but the Kiners, the family, are, they're very talented.
When do you want to talk about that cello piece?
Well, how about this? Runtime's 57 and 44 minutes. Talk music, go.
I mean, I can hear it. The sign of a good score is the next day after you see the film or after, when it's just there. And that dun, 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 that simple thing, when you discover something like that, man, I just, I haven't, it is a dream of mine to do someday, but a very hard one to achieve, so I'm not counting my chickens, but I understand it and I study it. And I'm such a fan of it that when you can find a piece that's literally the same note over and over again, but the instrument you choose to play it on, the voicing you choose the player to use, the technique you have them use to play it, create a sound and a piece that is so recognizable with one note, you win. You win. I mean, every time that thing happened, dun, 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 came on, I was like, dude, this is what?
Do you think that fits over the Imperial March? Like, it's got to fit in there. I bet you it's in there somewhere. Like that rhythm.
Well,
if you really play.
Yeah.
Together,
It has the same vibe of like
right?
I don't know, like kind of sinister, looming danger, suspense. But what they've been doing, not just Kiner, Ludwig, everything that's going on right now in live action Star Wars, they're getting so creative. I equate this to, I think where a lot of this came from, honestly, as a lot of music in film and TV does, is Hans Zimmer does a thing and then people do that thing. And Dune, the Dune soundtrack is so groundbreaking. They literally were inventing instruments to play for the soundtrack. I mean, it's crazy what he did with that. But they're doing that in live action. They're going like, how do we mic this cello to make it sound just so nasty and cool instead of the classical Star Wars style of string production and string playing, But
it all still sounds like Star Wars.
Of course, absolutely. But there was all the stuff we love and talk about especially in Clone Wars, the episodes that went dark towards the end, where it just shifted into this like dark synth wave.
Yes.
That was all in the show, in the background. There was plenty of moments where you got these low growling, like Korg MS-20 bass lines and stuff. Like it was
right at the top too.
I loved it.
Got right into it.
Yeah. I was totally, I was blown away by the score. Really, I was. I was so impressed.
I just rewatched season 7 of Clone Wars as part of the Ahsoka playlist, and my brain was so primed for this Kevin Kiner score by that. It was that thing where I was taken out just enough to acknowledge how awesome something is, and then brought back to the story, because it's just, when you hear it, like you're saying. Man, I love it. I'm so
I
so
mentioned
glad
it
you
on
got a
the
chance.
Instagram live last night, but we now have our second instance of like a drum kit.
Yeah.
In Andor, it was literally just a drum, I want to say. Maybe there's one or two other instruments, but the Sabine, like Top Gun chase, was a full-on punk song. Like in my head, that's Size Noodles singing. Like just singing a punk band, like a Riot Girl punk band. It's so cool.
But it has this like, it's almost like a perfect mashup, like a punk mashup of Sabotage and Danger Zone. You know what I mean? And it's just perfect. And it
Yeah.
still sounds like Star Wars.
That music does exist in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
High Republic, the Nihil, which are the kind of the overarching enemy of
Wreck
the
Punk, right?
I think it was Thrash or Wreck or
I think it's
Trash.
Wreck Punk.
Trash Punk.
Let me look it up quick.
But like they would literally pump this through their ships, their drop ships, and everyone's just high. They wear these masks and they basically just get high on this gas to keep them just like completely jacked on, going and just wrecking everybody.
Yeah, it's Wreck Punk.
It's Wreck Punk. Okay, so they play this through the ships before they all drop in to go like just mess everybody up. And it's like the way that they describe it is like I'm pretty sure that's the Sex Pistols. But it does exist in Star Wars. So I mean, they're connecting the dots. I mean, this is canon.
Yeah, expect to hear that at Mosh Eisley.
Yeah.
100%.
All right, I'll give you, listener, viewer, I'll give you an overview of how we're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so. There's too much to talk about. There are too many emotions. There's too much in the Den of Antiquities to get into a synopsis. And a lot of times that just kind of, I don't know. It doesn't always work.
If you're watching this, you probably
if
already
you're
watched
watching
it.
this, you watch that. I agree.
Yeah.
I think we're at that point where people who know what we're doing, they're watching the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're with us. They're on our level.
We'll hit enough of the plots of the plot points in the discussion and in the den to talk about the important shit. So I have a few discussion points. We did give like kind of our initial reactions on the Instagram Live. We're all super pumped. Should we do bingo results, or should we just start talking stuff?
I didn't have time to do mine. If
Yeah, I feel like
that changes your,
He's got to do one. We
Bingo.
got to get a couple. We got to get a couple episodes.
Bingo
in
should
before
go at the
this.
end. No?
Yeah.
We'll do
Well,
them.
I feel like we're gonna.
Ryan needs to do one. Ryan needs to do a card. We'll do it next
Yeah.
week. Then we'll have some tangible results. Ryan, you just have to pick from ours.
okay.
That's easy enough. Unless you have more that you want to add that haven't already
Yeah,
gone in.
add more. Yeah,
Yeah, do
I'll
that.
make the card.
Yeah. do that.
But we did hit a few for the record.
We did.
Not
We did
me.
hit. You got none?
I don't think I got any.
Yes, you
Okay.
did.
What?
I don't believe you. Okay.
Okay.
What?
For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, if they skipped over the bingo episode, we made bingo cards. We predictions, things that we want to see, whatever. We did 24 of those each, and who knows if any of us will hit bingo, but we'll hit some, and then we'll probably have to count up who hit the most because none of us are going to string. I was looking at mine, and the weird ones are in just the wrong places to screw me out of actually hitting bingo. Maybe there's
Nice.
one line I could hit. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Let's talk about. I have a list here of just some things to discuss, some things that were like a little unexpected, or maybe things for people who haven't watched Rebels yet, and they're like, "Who is this? Why is this happening?" Let's talk about. What should we do first? Sabine,
Yeah, the first one's good.
Sabine as a Padawan. So, like you said, Ryan, they kind of gave us enough exposition to kind of fill in the blanks for people, especially with Hu Yang mentioning that she has the lowest aptitude of any Padawan he's
He
ever
just
seen.
bodies her. He's like
So
not
good.
even like he gives her no glimmer of hope. He's like, you are literally
500
the
years.
worst. You
I-
are horrible.
Worst.
I definitely have a thought about this. I thought it last night. I'm thinking it now. This is straight up sequel trilogy qualifier material. That's all it is. This is Finn. You know,
Oh.
the Force lives in all of us, and anyone can. You know,
It supports that
that's
thing
what
we
I
talk
think.
about.
That's what I think. I
Yeah.
think this is a sequel trilogy validation. I don't know what, you know. I don't
Okay.
think validator is a word.
Mike?
It could be two things. I've had a lot of discussions about this with a lot of different people about the idea of, is Sabine Force sensitive? Is Ahsoka trying to find someone that doesn't have a off the charts Mandalorian count to be able to train someone like Ryan is talking about, to be able to tap into the Force as something that Qui-Gon had said, that the living Force is something that goes through all living things, right? So technically someone would have the ability to possibly be able to tap into it. But if we look at the lineage, they made a very important point to tell people who did not watch the show that Sabine is a Mandalorian. Okay, cool. And then you find out that Ren, and I think that her legacy, I think her actual legacy family is Vizsla. Correct, Ryan? You just rewatched it. It's Vizsla, right?
Yes, correct.
Her house is literally a descendant of Tar Vizsla that was made to be a point in the last season of Mandalorian to talk about the first Jedi Mandalorian was Tar Vizsla. So her lineage checks out that she has ancestry of one of a Force user.
Yeah.
Someone who's actually able to be both. So I think that's that, and it's not like Filoni doesn't know that. That's like literally his thing. So it could just be literally an opportunity for her to almost discover the power of her heritage, ancestry, possibly. Something to think about.
I'm down with the idea too that not every Force user is moving rocks and has the same skill set. You know, like she might be able to, maybe because she's a great artist or something, maybe that's a way into the Force or something like that. Maybe she has like one or two things when someone like Luke or Anakin has a plethora of them, you know?
Well, that's why I think there were so many questions hanging in the air of Finn's connection to the Force at the end, that I just had a conscious thought of like, oh, we're leaning a little more into the idea of characters that are not known Force users, characters that don't have basically exactly what you just said, Nick. They don't move rocks. That's the easiest way to say it. So I thought that, honestly, Mike, I wasn't. I did just watch it, and all of that information is correct, but I did not pull all of that in my brain because I'm not as smart as you when it comes to these things. So I think it's both. I guess it's both things to me, you know?
Speaking of Sabine and her being a Padawan of Ahsoka, and how that ended and is now being restarted, there's enough mention of the idea of her having left Anakin and doing the same to Sabine, and her dealing with that, for people to get it. But the depth and the significance of that is something that you can't really understand until you watch Clone Wars. Because the guilt that Ahsoka is likely carrying is massive. You know, you think about, she wonders if Darth Vader never would have existed had she not left the Order, you know? And then she thinks about, did she do something like this to Sabine? But then she's weighing out, and there's a great quote, which is the quote of the week we'll talk about later. Did she leave Sabine, and did she sort of end that training because she was afraid that she didn't have enough natural talent, she was going to get her killed? You know, so like the wrong thing for the right reasons kind of thing. And I think all of that just informs her demeanor, who she is at this point in history, the way that Rosario's playing this very stoic version of Ahsoka, who was just
Loner.
like this
Just
wild
an absolute
kid.
loner.
Yeah, it's everything about the way she takes in information, the way she kind of takes a breath, and the faces she makes. She's always thinking, you know. Just think about.
There's also something she alluded to when she was talking to Hu Yang on the ship, where she said she didn't use a typical Jedi like interrogation or something like that when she was interrogating Morgan Elsbeth. So who knows what that means? You know, like
Torture.
if she didn't stick to the code when
Kylo Ren moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Why not?
I
Choke
think
her
that
out.
I think the whole thing is setting up for, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't want to speculate too far and say like some massive sacrifice on her part, whatever that may be, when she finally commits to the relationships, to the people in her life again, when she finally lets herself be open to them and be close to them, because it's so deliberate how it's being played right now that she will not let anyone in. She will not, you know what I mean? She is looking for answers, but, and she does want to do good, but when it comes to personal connection, she wants to be on her own. And I think a huge part of this story is going to be, I mean, dude, look at how much they talked about where, like, that those weren't the only things you weren't around for.
Yeah.
You know, again, you have to watch Rebels, viewer, listener, to know what that means. But her absence was very much felt
Yeah.
in a key moment of the Star Wars story. In this story, you know, but in the bigger picture too. Now that I've seen it, it's important to the whole thing. But I just think where we're going with Adam, you just mentioned, you know, with Rosario's performance and the writing is that by the end of this, she is going to have. I mean, she's the protagonist of the story. There has to be some great change. So
that makes me think of two things. One from live action. Her reasoning for not training Grogu, you know, and being a loner. It's, you know, she's not a Jedi, but she still adheres to those principles that attachment can be dangerous. And she's maybe afraid that her attachments have done the worst of the worst to the galaxy. And talking about sacrifice, we talked about this week before last, that the end game for Ahsoka, in terms of where Filoni wants to take her as a character, it would be surprising if she died in this series, or if she died in the movie, in any kind of even traditional, you know, becoming one with the Force, becoming a Force ghost kind of sense. I think it is more likely, and I will give credit to Star Wars Explained for this. I can't remember if it was Molly or Alex who said it, but the idea that she may become something much larger in the Force. That brings it all the way back to the Mortis arc, because ultimately, like she died in that arc. She was brought
that's
back
a
to
huge
life
part of her story
through the life force of the daughter that was imbued into her, and the father figure in that was trying to find someone to replace him to keep the balance. What if that's her? What if in a few years the film ends with that, and she becomes like the keeper of the balance of the Force in the universe?
She could be
then
the Bendu, right in the middle.
Yeah.
But also then I think that if it's not death, that it has a Luke vibe to it, where she will come around, you know, and be there for Sabine and Hera, and but when it's over, she'll kind of ride off into the sunset on her own again, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like right now where we're at in these first two episodes, you get just like she almost doesn't want to be around them yet.
She doesn't even want to be around anymore.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? She's like, I think she feels like she can handle it on her own.
Yeah. While we're talking about Padawans and whatnot, we should point out that Shin, the apprentice of Baylan Skoll, has a Padawan braid. So this former Jedi, Baylan Skoll, who disappeared during the Clone Wars, even though he's not a light side user, he seems to, and the way he talks about it, would be unfortunate to kill Ahsoka. He does like have some feelings for it, some positive feelings. Yeah, reverence. He may just be a mercenary at this point, but he's obviously training his Padawan or his apprentice in something that resembles the Jedi style. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Is there something interesting?
There's no council to join, so he's out in that lawless space right now.
It's something. There is some kind of interesting parallel to Ryan and I. Obviously, geeked out about this a little last night. About there's a force ability, right? We know that some force users have developed like I would say like a accented or a focused ability within the Force, and Cal Kestis has what's called an echo, where he's able to go to a place and almost listen back to what had happened in these spaces in the Force. And she did that at Sabine's apartment, which is really interesting. It's kind of cool. It's a new ability I don't think we have seen in her before, but certainly one we have seen in Star Wars. And so it's almost interesting because like the echo is going backwards. And when Morgan looks over to Baylan, she almost kind of asked him if what he saw coming, almost like he can see further ahead, which did you guys pick that up?
Yes. So this will bring me to another idea when you're done with this.
So all I'm saying is like there's something interesting about I think too. I was talking with our friend Brooke about it, that Shin is wearing, like, her robes are still, they're not fully dark yet.
Yeah,
right?
brown,
they're,
right?
They're well, like her undersuit is almost like gray.
Yeah, I think
It's-
her
it's-
cloak is brown though.
Her cloak is brown, but like the underneath, right? And we've seen that was an intentional decision. Black
She
on
looked
top.
like a Stark of Winterfell.
True. Yes.
know what this was,
There is something interesting about that, and especially with the theory of who they are and within the Loth Wolves too. But anyways, there's something interesting about like his respect for Ahsoka, because it's almost like she's on the opposite side of him in terms of Ahsoka can look back and he can look forward.
Game recognized game.
There's something very interesting about the two of them, and especially with Filoni teasing us at Celebration by saying they're not who you think they are, which can be anything in regards to what Dave Filoni can think of. So I think the Padawan part of it, and it being, of course, that Hu Yang didn't recognize her lightsaber at all, makes me think the Night Sisters and what they did to Maul's brother, right? And the fact that they have incredibly unnatural abilities. Like, did they resurrect fallen Jedi? And did they come back? Like, dude, I'm like, this is kind of nuts, and I'm pretty interested in where this goes.
Yeah. God, you just got the gears turning.
Oh,
Okay.
boy.
Well, here's some more stuff. Okay. So, Thrawn supposedly is calling to Morgan Elsbeth across space and time. Quote, across space and time. Not just the distance to a different galaxy, which is also a weird concept that we should talk about for a second. Another galaxy in Star Wars? We've always just talked about the one galaxy. There's some stuff
Insane.
in the off-screen stuff.
Because
But
it's
this-
all like unknown regions, right? That's all that it's referred to as.
Well,
I think it's
like,
the Beyond too,
well,
right? Or-
no, but fully in another galaxy, though.
Yeah,
All the
that was shocking.
unknown regions and all of that is within the one.
Yep.
right.
It's
Wild
not spiral.
space and
The
all
distant
that.
one is the spiral, but the one that it's much further, which is why they're constructing this giant hyperdrive thing. Okay, so just the words across space and time seems like an obvious reference to the world between worlds.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Time, right?
All of the imagery, all the line work
Yes.
at the temple
Right.
that they were at. What's the planet that they were on? It has a really cool name.
Earth?
No.
All of that, all of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not inscription, but like
Engraving.
engraving, etching in the
Sure.
rock, in
Yeah.
Florida. That it was all the lines from Mortis and the World Between Worlds and all that. It ties the room together, dude. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, all the temples that we've seen, like the temples that we've seen more recently, like starting with Rebels and then including some stuff in Mando with the live action renditions, like the thing that Grogu meditated on had that circular thing with the writing. It all seems to tie to this world between worlds thing. And there's this amazing
The
idea
pathway to
that's
the Peridia. That's the name of it. The pathway to Peridia that's the
Sick.
line. Yeah.
a viewer super chatted into Star Wars Explained, their live stream earlier. The idea
Cedos, Ryan. Cedos. That's the name of.
nice.
Yes, so cool.
The idea that it's not Thrawn whispering to Morgan Elsbeth, because he can't. He's not a Force user. But that it's Ezra, whether he's being forced by Thrawn or he's being manipulated by Thrawn, or, as Nick's bingo card suggests, he's been compromised in some way, or his mind suggests that he's fully turned.
Yeah.
Put that in pipe and smoke it.
Why am I allowed? I shouldn't be allowed to do this. To like people
I
who
gotta go to bed.
No, just like people who are watching the podcast and the live streams, whatever, are so much smarter than I am, and I have a
It's a
microphone in
hive
front of me.
mind.
Why?
We all just do it.
I would have never gone that far in my brain. I mean,
We're communicators. We're just
what
here
a
to relay these
what a
ideas.
sick idea.
Yeah.
I mean, wherever they went, think about this. Wherever they went with the Purrgil, it's actually a different galaxy. Ezra could literally show up. I don't know. This could be, I guess, the Chiss. Are the Chiss in the Star Wars galaxy
Yeah.
as we know it, or that's the unknown region?
Well, unknown regions is within the map. Star Wars galaxy.
Okay. So I don't know. In my head, Thrawn, Ezra, and the Purrgil went to wherever the Chiss are from, and Ezra's like, "Oh, okay," like immediately outnumbered type of thing, and goes through some sort of torture or mind control or brainwashing, whatever you want to call it, and it's just compromised at that point. So. We'll see.
they got there and found out that there's something way worse, and they're trying to get back to
The
be like,
darker side, the darkest side.
I have two things. One, can we have just a quick moment of like science? Can we talk about science for just a second?
I would love to.
They jumped to they made the jump while in atmosphere to go the path, right? To take the path.
In the finale of Rebels, yeah.
Correct, but the windows were all broken. How are we surviving in 0G vacuum of space?
Hey kid, it's not that kind of movie.
I mean, any number of things. It could be
There's
like,
nothing. I've been trying, bro. There's no.
well, he's holding this whole situation together with the Force at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Purrgil are organic beings that travel through hyperspace. Who knows what kind of like gravity well they create? Who knows what kind of like magnetic field they create? Who knows how that all interacts with the Force, or how Ezra forces it to react with the Force?
Or
There's
maybe
lots
they're
of
like,
hand wavy shit we
don't
can
be
say
a
here.
baby, just breathe.
We'll be there. We'll be there in a minute.
I really appreciate your effort. Moving on. My second thing is the galaxy, another galaxy in Star Wars and whatever's going on there. And, to your point, Mike, like something worse, something we've never seen before, I mean, there's so much, like, is it related directly to, how related is it to the story that's unfolding right now with, the post-Imperial Mandalorian Ahsoka timeline that we're culminating in? How related is it to that? Also, if we're going to get these Rian Johnson trilogies and these other things like that are supposed to be totally off the path of the Skywalker saga, why not just tell us about a brand new galaxy?
Why don't you just tell us about the galaxy
to
you wanna
tee
see?
that up? I mean,
Yeah.
I've been thinking that for a while, actually, to think about the idea of the new, if they're ever going to make them, new features that are not connected to the Skywalker saga in any way, that they would either be in some part of the galaxy we've never seen, or I don't know that I had this conscious thought, but in another galaxy. I mean, like there's things are happening in the universe at the same time that this is happening. So
They're teeing it all up, dude.
that's what I'm saying. They don't do anything by mistake, despite everyone thinking they do.
Disney.
But they hate Star
there's
Wars.
there's a difference between a lack of
Foresight.
foresight in the sequel trilogy and coherent scripts versus the idea of the sequel trilogy being coherent, like the idea of Palpatine masterminding the whole thing that was always there. Like
Yeah. That happened multiple
Rey,
times in
Rey. Let's make a new movie. Rey's a descendant of Palpatine. That was there. We didn't know that when it started, but they did, and it's like, so even that has more foresight than the original trilogy, which we talk about that all the time. I'm just saying that they don't go, here's a new galaxy to then just be like, all right, well, they're gonna go get him and bring him back, and we're never gonna hear about that again.
Yeah, that's not just a
There's
plot
no way.
device. It's
There's
not
no
just a MacGuffin. It's
huge, really.
It's huge.
I mean,
It's
you're
really
talking.
huge.
This is a massive doorway that could have, again, to not speculate, it could have been opened, right? I mean, maybe it does go away.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe we're
And
overthinking
Filoni
it.
wrote all this. I mean, really think
Yeah.
about
That's what I'm saying.
So George and Dave did the Clone Wars, and everything that you kind of love, the essential parts of the Clone Wars, are mostly Dave. Then Filoni was helming the ship on Rebels, and look at how good that is. And then arguably the most exciting parts of The Mandalorian you could almost point to Filoni to. And now he's in charge of this. Like,
And if this is all leading to this feature film with the culmination of the whole thing, what better, what crowning achievement could be bigger than him going, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take us all to a completely new galaxy for the finale of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And open the door to a legitimately new chapter
Yeah.
for the future of Star Wars.
And right alongside it, filling in all the blanks, planting all the seeds for the path to the sequel trilogy, including, you know, the Imperial remnants, the business people. Like,
it's all happening at the same
all
time.
business.
It's
Yeah.
masterful. It's masterful.
And that, like, this arrogant captain at the beginning, the dude who, that guy who's been in a million things, just again, planting the seeds for us to understand how it's like, well, where'd the First Order come from? Of course, there's another empire. Yeah, well, this is all cyclical. Like Earth has a very cyclical history. Of course, it would pan out the same way in another galaxy. You know, empires rise and fall.
I think we might have mentioned it last week while we were doing the bingo cards, but did one of us bring up the Night Sisters possibly being like the last like linchpin in figuring out Snoke and figuring out cloning and stuff like that? I feel like
Someone
that
did
came up
mention that,
last
yeah.
we
last
talked
week.
about that. Yep.
So maybe they're one thing to be clear about too when it comes to the Night Sisters, they do use the Force, they use it differently. It's via magic, basically. They are Force users. It's
Or
just,
their interpretation is a magical.
So they're not
of,
Sith, they're not Jedi, but they use the Force.
Well, we've also I learned in watching Rebels this idea that creatures, whether they be, you know, humanoids or Lothwolves, excuse me, are there was a line in season 4 of Rebels about their connection is to the Force or something, and it was like, and someone goes, their connection is to Lothal, like about the wolves,
Right.
so
Right.
Dathomir in general, the planet's energy is dark and weird and twisted, and it's in this, you know, region of space that it's like their connection is to their planet, so their interpretation of the Force is going to be defined by their connection to all the living things on their planet. I think there's something to that.
Yeah. Well done, dudes. All right.
Man,
what
we
do you say?
talked the hell out of that. Holy
Yeah, but
can you believe it?
I love you guys, but none of us said on our own accord that Ezra is whispering, not Thrawn.
Hey,
That is heavy. That is
either
heavy.
did Alex or Molly.
Yeah.
Who
I
run
know.
the biggest and smartest damn Star Wars anything, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't feel that dumb. This is just what I'm telling myself. All right, let's do the Den of Antiquities.
It is the dark side. Run. Oh gosh.
A Sith we find
Science. Cloning. It's only the Sith key.
There's enough stuff in this to talk for another hour straight, but we'll try to keep it under control. Nick, take us in.
Feels good to be back in the den. Ahsoka's ship is designated T6 1974, likely a reference to Filoni's birth year. There was another code or something that Ahsoka used that I was like, it was like 811976 or something. I don't remember exactly, but I was like, I wonder if that's her birthday, and it wasn't. So
She also said
I tried.
G48 or something like that at the top, and I was like, G, George, what year was he born?
Yeah.
Or 38, G38. No, he was born in 44. Well.
So, Senator Jai Kell, first seen in Rebels, Season 1, Episode 6, called Breaking Ranks, where he was a cadet in training for the Empire, and then towards the end of the series, he was alongside writer Azadi in the final season.
All grown up.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I was like, are you missing a word? Shin and Balin's ship is heavily inspired by early concept art for the Imperial shuttle.
But it had like if I'm wrong, and I said this last night in a, whatever state I was in, it had a first order ass, didn't it? Kind of. Like with the four, it didn't have the OT circular
Thrusters.
It had more of that modern first order, I don't know what you would call it. It's like a rectangle with rounded corners.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That kind of thruster is in the sequel trilogy in the
For
first
sure.
order ships. Yeah.
But then the World War II bomber nose with the just like the Falcon.
Yes.
So it's really a mashup of all the eras.
Yeah.
Circular. Yeah.
Some of these are a little out of order, but I did notice that there are new characters in the Star Wars Disney Plus intro. So Huyang is in there, Marek, and I don't remember the HK assassin droid. It could have been there, but I don't remember it being in there. So,
Can I say something cool about the HK assassin droids? You guys know better than me. Have we seen them before? Has it been brought up before?
I think in the Jedi episode of Mandalorian, right?
Okay.
And
I don't know.
Before that, it was a video game or a comic or something.
I don't know if there's anything to this whatsoever, or if there's actually any nod to Lucas's inspiration from Dune to Star Wars, but HK standing for Hunter Killer. It's a little assassin,
Could be.
In the book, they describe them like kind of like little metal bugs, and then in the film, they kind of did that. They adapted it, but when they HK assassin droid, like.
Well, depending on who first coined HK assassin droids in Star Wars, that could have been a nod to Terminator. Cameron was almost definitely inspired by Dune.
Hunter Killer.
Yeah. Oh, while we're mentioning Marek though, dude, how sick was that straight up like medieval armor, Inquisitor armor that he had?
It was cool. It
everything
fit
about
in the universe. Like it was medieval, but that wasn't the first thing that popped.
Yeah.
He just looked sleek and cool.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about him. Who is he?
When he fetches his lightsaber that's spinning and
Ahsoka just kicks her shoulder by.
Yeah.
badass.
That was amazing.
I mean,
Let him get it back.
I think there was an expletive on my part in that moment.
Yeah.
He looks like a knight of Ren
Yeah.
to me.
There are also theories about Knights of Ren.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
People are suggesting the two orange lightsaber wielding folks here may be Knights of Ren.
Mm-hmm.
May well become Knights of Ren.
Speculation.
Yeah.
Overturned.
Too
Yeah,
bad.
continue. Sorry. Back on track.
Driver, come on, man.
I mean, there is some history in I think it's called The Rise of Kylo Ren or something comic book series. There are Knights of Ren that exist, and neither of them are in it. But hey, it's fine. We'll just rewrite the comic books.
Or they could just join.
Did
They
you
could
also
join
see
the
in the
ranks.
second episode? Was that not Rex's helmet
Where? Oh, in Sabine's?
in the intro?
Oh, yeah, I think
when
that's
they
been there,
right? That
Oh,
was
yeah.
That looked like a phase, almost like
Yeah,
Rex's
I think that.
in between. I mean, I'm assuming
sure
that's
that's been
Rex, right?
Yeah, I don't know if the markings are on it, but I think a clone helmet has been.
It
in
almost
there,
seemed
though.
like that transitional phase 1 to phase 2.
Mhm.
I
They were
don't know, I was
clones.
like, okay.
I'm pumped on seeing E-wings. Those look real awesome. They seem like kind of almost like in my head, they seem like a next generation X-wing. Pretty similar. So they were flying alongside Sabine on that Lothal highway. They were seen in Legends originally when the Republic used the E-wing during Thrawn's attempt to resurrect the Empire after the Battle of Endor. So they are era appropriate in Legends, if that makes sense.
I
Dig
will
it.
also mention that given what went down at the antenna where Sabine lives, that road is literally a highway to the danger zone.
Had to do it. He had to do it, and
Am I
he did
wrong?
it right there.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
We're almost 180 for 180. Just gonna say. Thank the maker.
But
A
also,
Top Gun podcast.
I was watching that, and I was like, dude, Ahsoka needs a faster ship, man.
Yeah, what was with that?
I was like, those Z-wings were like cruising. I was like, hit the light speed. She's dying, man.
I was just talking to somebody about F-16s that leave from our airport here, and they mentioned something about going from like, I don't know, like.
I was there for this conversation, but I can't remember. And I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it takes something like 11 minutes to essentially go across the entire country.
Yeah, it's real fast.
At Mach 2.5 or whatever they do.
It's real fast.
Yeah, I was just waiting for Ahsoka to go. I'll be there in 17 seconds. I was waiting to hear like whatever the equivalent of seconds is in Star Wars to be said. Didn't happen. Too late.
It really didn't.
Sorry, Nick. Continue.
Apology accepted. Sabine watches Ezra's Hollow on the same type of Jedi communicator first seen in the prequels when Qui-Gon uses it in The Phantom Menace.
It's a good one.
Looks pretty similar to...
I'm pretty sure you can buy those at Galaxy's Edge now.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Is it not the
it out.
same like Jedi communicator that was in Obi-Wan?
Yep. Same
Yes.
one.
Okay, so
like
it
standard
does
Jedi
hollow
issue, right?
and it does audio and visual.
So it was Kanan's.
And it looks like a
She has
throwing
it now.
star, so that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that makes sense.
Oh, Kanan. Oh,
Okay, this is cool. This is something I feel like Mike's talked about Balin and Shin possibly being both wolves and all this type of stuff. So this kind of reminds me of that conversation. The three-pointed symbol that Sabine discovers in the star map, it's of Earth. It's something called the Celtic Trinity. Celtic Trinity knot, or the triquetra. And that's iconography associated with Wiccans, so witches. Pretty cool.
And
Yes. So, what is it called? The triquetra, or the Trinity. So that's three, basically. It symbolizes the triple goddess, often described as the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Pretty damn cool. I mean, just to bring in a layer of kind of sorcery and witches.
the Father, the Daughter, and the Son. It's
Yeah.
Mortis.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, all of it.
It's Mortis, dude.
May the force be with you.
And also with you.
Thank you.
And speaking of witches, toil and trouble is almost definitely a reference to Macbeth. There's a
Sick.
spell spoken by the three witches in Macbeth. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron bubble. So,
Balin, Banquo. I mean, what's going on here?
towards the end of episode 2, Sabine kneeling down in front of her Mando helmet while cutting her hair. That mirrors Kanan doing the same exact thing before he met his demise, rescuing Hera. And also, pre all of that, a reference to Seven Samurai, Kurosawa. So,
And the main character, I think, does that as part of like to symbolize a new path.
Rebirth.
Yeah.
Is George inspired? George Lucas? He's inspired by. This is the first time hearing of it. Was he?
I
into
love
samurai
I love-
movies.
I love when Hera says I hate. Oh, she did this for the patrons. So okay, I'll shut up.
Okay.
Shut up. But we said it on the live last night. Like, Ahsoka looks over. She got that shortcut again, and she was like, "I like your hair," and Sabine just goes, "It felt more me." I'm like, "Oh, she knows. Yeah, she knows." It felt more like me for people who watch Rebels.
If you know, you know.
all right, got a couple more here. They're a little out of order, but Ahsoka aligning the pillars in the Night Sisters temple is similar to what Cal Kestis does in the Zepho temple in Jedi Fallen Order.
But she's way smarter than Cal Kestis, because Cal would make you run all the way around the map, and she just cut through the floor and just went down to the part where she needs to go. So Ahsoka figured it out.
But aren't you controlling Cal Kestis, so Ahsoka is
Nick,
smarter than you?
Nick. We don't
what
need to
you're
get in
saying.
the nuance of things, okay?
Yeah, nitpicking.
I don't want to say that this next one is exactly the same room, but it looks very similar. So Hera and Ahsoka meet in what looks like the same war room as the Rebel Alliance in the pre-Death Star attack in Return of the Jedi. So
I mean, it
could
is
be
the
like,
same ship. It is the same Mon Cala ship, right?
yeah. So It probably is. Maybe more than one of those ships exists, and they all have the same room. Like I don't know, but it's dead on.
Yeah. Even if it's not the exact same ship, just the feeling of seeing them
Yeah.
at the same table where everyone from the original trilogy met, I just got goosebumps just saying it.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. Star Wars.
A couple more here. The illustrations of Purrgil can be seen rounding in a circle when Morgan Elsbeth, Balin Skull, and Shin Hati are viewing the star map. So,
Yep.
and you kind of got to
Yep.
pause it for a second and see them, but
Pitch.
Purrgil are a part of it.
Pitch.
Yeah.
I noticed that without pausing it, and if you don't watch Rebels, no chance. There's my pitch.
Yeah.
Hey,
And a lot
also,
of people aren't really talking about the fact that, Balin looks up at one point and there's Purrgil circling, right?
Yeah.
Or at least one giant one. He looks up at
in
the
the
sky
map
and
thing,
sees
yeah.
one. Yeah.
Right.
quick thing about Purrgil. So, before hyperspace was able to be navigated with the Navicomputer, calculations so you don't fly into a supernova or whatever, right? They had to, force-sensitive people would use the Force to find those hyperspace lanes. And before that, the discovery of that came from the Purrgil. All this is canon, apparently. This is just from research. I don't know where this was said, but that's the origin. Maybe they mentioned it in Rebels.
So Dune. The whole thing is so
Super
Dune.
Dune,
It's
yeah.
just, dude, it's the whole entire concept of Dune is based around only these super evolved humans who become basically revert to fish almost because they have to live in these tanks breathing spice at all times.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way you can do that because you'll fly into a supernova.
It's like in high school when you get a gas mask from the Army surplus store and you attach it to your bong.
And then
It's just like I don't have a problem with it. It's just sometimes it's just like, man, he really liked Dune a lot.
and in the High Republic, the Marchion Ro, who's the main big bad of the whole thing, actually has a being hooked up to a machine, just like you're describing, Ryan. And she has what's called the sight, which is the ability to be able to see these paths. And that family is Legacy Santeca, which is a long-lasting Star Wars family that has had many, many, many deep secrets.
To me, she's royalty.
Things. Yeah. So that's Star Wars is very cool. It's very cool.
One last one here. Shin arriving on Lothal with a mini probe droid. You could probably do a supercut of that scene and Darth Maul showing up with a mini probe droid on Tatooine in The Phantom Menace. Pretty similar.
Dude, how sick was the intro? Did anyone else have this feeling? I'm going to bring it right back around to initial reactions, which we didn't really get into because our Instagram Live. Did anyone else in watching the first 5 or 10 minutes feel like they were in the theater in 1999, but seeing a modern, more original trilogy inspired version of that opening scene of The Phantom Menace?
Yeah. I mean, my
It fully took me
overall,
back.
because I saw it a couple days before everyone else, my overall non-spoiler review is that it was fresh and familiar.
Mm-hmm.
It really does seem like, could you imagine being, I don't know, however, I guess we're all kind of the same age. Could you imagine if just 3 years after Return of the Jedi, there was a new movie? That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Filoni's just nailing it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are
I
some
love
shots-
how he was like, all right, it's time. I'm gonna do a crawl
Yeah.
into a space, a crawl into a spacecraft. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But didn't totally bite it. Did his own way.
Yeah,
And-
Vanilla Ice. Din, 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 din.
Exactly.
Yeah, but ours goes ding 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 ding.
Yeah. And it was like we all reacted to this. I mean, we talked at the very top of the show tonight. We reacted to the crawl. Like wow,
Yeah.
wow. And it was just straight teleprompter style, but just doing it was enough. And he knows that. That. He's the guy who knows you just have to throw a little bit of it in there.
Also, it's exposition for my mom,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
that stuff's helpful.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm sure she was pumped.
Yeah, and at the end, right before the credits rolled, it said, "For our friend Nick's mom."
Yeah, that's true. That was very heartfelt.
I hope you
love that.
understood.
I love that.
Dude, also, just last thing on Filoni directing. He does some really cool creative shots while also not veering too far from Lucas and, some of the older directors' more classic style, where he composes, and you could give credit to the cinematographer too. I don't want to give everything to Dave, who knows. But the shot where you first see Sabine's Mandalorian helmet, because she has to squat down and the camera comes down behind the tool bench and she
Right.
sees that and comes back up, a lot of other less talented directors it'd be a cutaway. It'd be an angle where it's kind of in a weird spot, but it was just a smart camera move. And that one specifically kind of jumped out like, okay, he's got this.
It's very Spielberg.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, he's got it.
Damn, this
All right,
show's
anything
awesome
else
already.
in the den? Is that it?
That's it.
We'll find more
let's
stuff
leave the
as
den.
on a rewatch for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Mike, you mentioned your bingo card. I mean, Ezra's scout trooper helmet that Sabine painted is in like kind of the foreground of a shot.
Well, that's Ezra's apartment. Like she's living
Yeah,
in it
before
now,
it was
right?
hers,
And
yeah.
and that was his thing. Like Ezra used to go and steal stuff from the Empire. And if you look in the background, there's all kinds of stuff that there's tons of old stormtrooper helmets and all that kind of stuff, which is it was all put there. I'm sure as we're going to get more behind the scenes from all this. Like I can't wait for a gallery of this show.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Like so excited to see this. But yeah, that was
Let's rename this segment for the next 7 weeks Ezra's apartment.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
I'm guessing the Instagram account and Facebook account. I don't know how Facebook works, but on Instagram it's Parts of SW, Parts of Star Wars. I've referenced it before. They're doing a lot of Andor stuff right now because it's a ton of found objects. That's the most recent one that went most heavily into that. But I would imagine they'll start to hit the show as well, and I can't wait to find out what
so
kind
many
of
of her-
obscure European Tupperware I need to get.
But so many like her when she's plugging in all the different parts, and it looked like there
Yeah.
were like
Oh
acrylic
wait,
and
there's another thing I forgot to write down. When she had the droid's head and it was
Yeah.
plugged in. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
a bunch of like quarter-inch cables. That was like all audio
Right.
equipment. I feel like.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like all the connections were just like guitar cables, basically.
And did you also
those are
see
pretty cool.
on either side of the screen where she was doing the targeting thing? It just in Arabic just says ABC.
It's because
Nice.
when Dave and I met in the airport. He kind of caught the rock and roll bug. It's not.
Oh,
I don't want to
nice.
take credit for
Yeah,
it. But
dude,
Well,
for
and
sure.
you as a
Huge
musician,
yellow
of
card
course,
fan.
You're
Yeah, yeah.
As a musician, you're always
It's-
carrying around music equipment in your backpack. So you said, I have some extra cables, Dave.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if you were a drummer, you would have taken the sticks
Yeah,
out of your
he-
back pocket that you always carry
Yeah.
with you everywhere to Wendy's
He asked
or
if
the
he
airport.
could like inspect my lightsaber, but I was like,
Yeah.
you know what you really want to inspect is all the music cables, because you never know.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Right.
So it was really in a roundabout way. It was my idea.
I heard
In an
It was my
HK
idea.
droid, there's a humbucker sitting in the right in
that's
there
right.
for everything. For sure.
Seymour
heard that he
Duncan
went
JB
right
goes in
to-
everyone.
100%.
He went
I've
right
seen
to
it.
Guitar Center and bought one of those bundles where it's like a guitar, an amp, a cable, a pick.
One pick. Always comes with it. It's amazing. All right, let's do I Love You, I Know.
I love you.
Favorite scenes, quotes, moments, and so on. We have some from the patrons in Discord, patreon.com/thankthemakerpod if you want to be one of those people. Mike, you want to do this?
Am I reading
You
it,
wanna- Yeah.
or am I giving my thoughts first? Let's do that.
Well, let's do patrons first and then us.
Okay.
The guest goes first,
Okay, I better. Pull
and they
it
are
up.
the guests. Be
Oh,
my
I'm
guest,
still-
be my guest, be my guest.
Oh, no,
Was
someone
that
else
Aladdin?
has to go first because I need to pull it up.
Well, we'll do two of us, then patrons, then
last.
two more. We'll split it up. Nick,
Love it.
What was your favorite scene, quote, or moment?
For the implications, Morgan Elsbeth being a descendant of a Night Sisters, and that is absolutely going to be a big part, like moving forward. That was
Yeah.
that was my like Yes, because it's also something I didn't really think of until we made bingo cards. So I was excited at the thought of it, and then it actually happening was very cool.
Yeah. Hella cool. Ryan Key, what about you?
Can I go with the season 4 the season finale of Rebels? Can that be my favorite?
I don't think that's on the menu.
Oh, man. I almost think for the first time in my time hosting a podcast about Star Wars, I like almost definitely need a rewatch to actually have one favorite thing. I was so overwhelmed because of the state I was in. I mean, I was so overwhelmed with Star Wars content for literally by the end of the Ahsoka shows. I think I was down for like 6 hours straight, uninterrupted. That like trying to find one thing. I mean, there's lots of little like visual things I could pick for little tiny moments. I think, moments where I was like, whoa.
Just pick any
loved
standout moment. You don't have to declare it your favorite.
I mean, dude, I had already seen it in the trailer, but when Ahsoka appeared and threw those lightsabers into the ground, I mean, it was just so. Also, I think because you hadn't seen her for so long in Rebels,
Yeah.
and as a fan of it, I knew it was coming, right? So as I'm watching Rebels, I know, okay, well, she's not here, but now we know that there's a bigger picture thing here. So there's a reason she's not here or whatever it is. So I had been with all these same characters for so many hours of my life right at that moment that seeing her again was intense. I mean, it was just intense. All the questions in my mind. Who is she now? Where has she been? What is she like? What has she been through? Who is she talking to? Who's like, what mission is she on? So I almost want to say like her appearing on screen for the first time was my favorite thing because it was just it was such a relief to see her again. Like, oh, okay, we're back. Like the crew is coming back together. But I will say also, I loved, it's already been mentioned, but I loved that moment where, what's his name? The guy that looks Knights of Ren?
Balin?
No, the dude in the armor.
Marok.
Marek.
Merrick. When he pulls his saber back and she just kicks her shoulder to the side, dude,
Yeah.
that was so good.
Badass.
It was so good.
All right,
Chopper, dude, Chopper.
Wait, no,
Maybe that's
no.
my favorite thing.
No,
haven't even mentioned
the patrons got this down.
Chopper
Some of
goes
the
like this.
Yeah, some of the favorite moments. So Darth Thanalis Meg, she just quotes Chopper, "Shoot it down." Hera, I can't just shoot it down. It would crash into the port city. And then Chopper says, "And that's bad."
Murder.
That is amazing. And then Chopper also saying,
He's
"You've
such
been
a
through
he's such a selfish little prick, dude.
right."
But he
Chopper-
always saves the day.
NATO Potato saying, "Chopper," when Chopper says, like, "You've been through my stuff," because Hera knows where all his parts are, and it's like,
You
can
throwing shit out.
You
Sounds
can
like
understand
he says words
him.
there.
It does
more
sound
so than
more
any
wordy.
Chopper-ism. He said like, "Are you sure?" or something like
Yeah,
that.
right. But then the little roll that they do on over the ship, and then Chopper like winds up like he's gonna chuck it and nail. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
that was straight out of Rebels.
Also,
Yeah, it was like it was a cartoon softball throw, a cartoon baseball throw.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, a great moment Henry Clark brings up. He just leaves this quote, and I know exactly who says it, and that goes to show you the power of like how well this dialogue and delivery was. You were right about one thing: we're no Jedi.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's cold-blooded. I think in what I'm looking at is in terms of like I love you, I know. I think that the quality of it's really hard to compare the shows because in some ways, and it depends on the TV that you're watching. Did we buy a TV because we realized that we wanted to go watch it at my buddy Ryloth Photography that we've all gotten photos taken of. He had his
Answer
new
yes.
studio. Yep, he got a new studio. And I was like, do we have a TV down there? And he's like, no, we don't have a TV yet. I'm like, well, we're going to go buy one. So we went and bought a new TV just to watch this.
Perfect.
But you could certainly see in the difference. We haven't really dialed in the settings yet, but like you could see where the volume was. You could see where some of these things are. But all in all, the attention to detail of how well Lothal translates to live action
Dude,
without
Beautiful.
really, I mean, it's incredible, right?
it's almost like they just turned up the resolution. It's like perfect.
Seriously. And the weight of the interior city of it, you know, obviously the dome has fallen and all of these things, but like I think it's just the transition of, especially because Ryan's like literally basking in the afterglow of how amazing the series is. The transition going from how familiar this felt, and that I don't feel that they wasted time needing to spend 3 episodes catching people up who did not watch Rebels. Like truly,
Yeah.
there are times for us that I think that we could have said like, well, that's obvious. But you're going to have to get up to speed if you didn't want to watch Rebels. And if you did put in the time to watch Rebels, we're going and you're already on the ride. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably one of the things that I've appreciated most was that Filoni was kind of like, this almost feels like a treat for people who have followed him and his journey of being a storyteller through a non-live action medium. I love that. I think that was fantastic. I think so far, like the feeling I got from those 2 first episodes was on Mando season 1, episode 1 for me, of being like, that was memorable to me.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's just such a massive dice roll too? Like the balls on that guy
Oh yeah.
to do what
Talking
he
about
just
witches
did.
right off the top.
I mean-
all the wild
Witches.
stuff.
That one's easy. That's a slam dunk. Grand slam.
Just
Witches. Great.
to have the whole first episode be name dropping characters as if we're in season 5 of a show, knowing that the casual Mandalorian viewer is going to watch this because of, you know, the visibility of Star Wars right now to the average viewer with Disney Plus and, you know, the advertising, the marketing they're putting into it. A lot of people that didn't watch Rebels are going to watch this show. He knows that, and he doesn't.
He's like Wikipedia or Wikipedia.
give a fuck?
You figure it out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Dude, you have to imagine he went to George and had concerns about it, and I would imagine George saying something about, you know, make the core story simple, straight to the point, and just make the rest of it sound so fucking cool that it doesn't matter. Because that's exactly what he did with Star Wars in 1977. Think about the amount of shit that he just threw out that no one had a clue about, but it just sounded so cool, and the core story was
The
so
Clone
simple.
Wars.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and the core story was rescuing a princess and killing the evil wizard.
Yeah,
Like,
straightforward.
and
Well, that's the thing.
this one, and I thought, you know, I mean, tell me you didn't have the same thought in the first scene with Ahsoka, you know. So I guess the second scene of the show, Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah.
She's on a treasure hunt, finding a map. Like that. That's exactly what this is. I mean, I didn't really put it into that context in my mind, but I
the
did have
score
that
during
thought.
that part was incredibly Indiana Jones.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't think about it in terms of this is to keep it on track, you know, in the face of the Rebels lore that is evident or going to be evident. I guess at that point in the second scene, right? Ahsoka, finding the map was like the second thing after the Alliance ship, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they haven't gotten into the Rebels yet, right? At that point. So I guess that's maybe why I didn't think of it in that way, Adam, that you just stated it. But that's exactly right. It's like, it doesn't matter as long as you keep it in the spirit of Star Wars, as long as you keep a classic hero's journey adventure trope going, whether it be a treasure hunt or rescuing a princess or you know, saving little fuzzy bears, you know, like whatever it is that makes all of the high-minded, you know, lore and sci-fi just sound cool.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about that, but think about how Indiana Jones, that first scene
yeah.
with Ahsoka was.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm a kid watching that, whether I watch Rebels or not, I'm like, oh sweet, this is an adventure. I'm on an
Yeah.
adventure.
Mhm.
And
Those
I'm
first two
I'm just gonna know the character. It doesn't matter what they're talking about. Okay, it's the green one and the one with the colored hair, and like I'm just gonna get to know these characters because this is the show I'm watching now.
Exactly.
And that's why I guess he started it with that first 10 minutes ish of non-Rebels content, and absolutely nailed it. I mean, look at the reviews, dude. Look at it nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. I don't know if you've noticed how many people on the internet. You guys know what the internet is? It's a place where
I've heard of this terrible.
it's a place where you can go and find something that you don't like, and instead of just living your life and carrying on by enjoying things and being positive, you can focus on only the things that you hate and don't like, and talk shit about them nonstop. I don't know if you've noticed, but the Star Wars
insert Ben Affleck quote from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back about what the fuck is the internet.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed in the last 48 hours the as it's released around the world, the Star Wars social media accounts. I love it. It's amazing. I can't believe it. It's so cool. Rebels, amazing. Love it. Every comment.
Yeah.
Everyone's pumped. Yeah. As he should be. My favorite's hard to nail down, but it was tough not to just be fully emotionally sucked in by just the mention of Anakin. When Hera talked about Ahsoka's master and her mood shift, how she paused, the way she chose to answer, that was really significant for me. And then, like on the other side, like on a lighter side with Hera, I thought that whole exchange with the dude at the shipyard who turned out to be, an Imperial remnant, the way Hera just kept pulling rank on him and saying, like, actually nothing's classified. I'm a general.
Yeah.
I'll need authorization. Well, I'm authorizing it. Like, and that whole thing. Do I need to get more formal? Do a more formal investigation or something like that?
She said, "I can make this a more formal inspection if you'd like."
Right. Exactly. Like it was all just so good, snarky and kind of funny, but not out of place. It was just really, really cool. The favorite moment though for me, maybe just like on principle, because I was so nervous about this show. I was so nervous. I was kind of having a shitty day yesterday, and there's so much writing on it. You know what I mean? The stakes are so high. This is like, in our top few favorite characters, Ahsoka. All of us. Maybe my favorite character. Period. So this, like, the stakes are about as high as they could be for this. And the way Filoni landed the opening scene, like all of the emotions that it triggered, all the notes that it was hitting, that all played so perfectly. I think I have to call that my favorite just on principle. The fact that it opened and there wasn't a single second of me having to get acclimated to the vibe or to buy in. I was just immediately on board. So I'm going to give it to the opening scene, I think.
Fresh and familiar.
Yep. It was so good. Yeah. Good job. Good job, Dave.
I've been meaning to tell you guys this, and I literally just remembered it. I want to text you guys so much, but every time I see what I'm about to tell you that I see, I'm driving, and I want to be a responsible driver. But it's probably just because I'm in like the LA area that buses have Ahsoka billboards on them. There are literal Ahsoka billboards, and it's just like the best picture of Ahsoka, and everywhere you look.
And they have glowing
when you're
lightsabers
driving.
on the billboard, right?
I haven't seen that.
Oh,
But
there's
yeah.
actually a billboard with her lightsabers, and they're lit up at night.
yeah, I haven't seen that. That's probably in like Hollywood proper,
Yeah.
if I had to guess.
That's amazing.
It
My
just
friend-
makes me think that this
My friend
feeling.
in LA said that he needed to send me a picture of this insane Ahsoka billboard next to his apartment. I bet
Yeah.
that has
It's
lit up
probably that one.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it
can't
gives
sleep
me this
now,
feeling
Mr.
of,
Marbles.
It gives me this feeling of like Back to the Future 2 when he's in the future,
Yeah.
and you're like, man, how cool would it be if you could just go in the future 20 years? And like you go into the future 20 years, and I'm driving around, I'm like, there's Ahsoka billboards. Like what?
Yeah. Yeah. What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Good shit. All right. let's get out of here. Patrons, thanks for being here with us. Everyone, thanks for watching on YouTube. If you're listening and not watching on YouTube, go hit subscribe. Or if you've made it this far into the clip and you're not subscribed, hit the button. It's right there. Just press it.
Mash
It's
it.
right in front of you. Smash it, kick it, punch it. And if you want to get all the benefits that come from being a patron, like Discord access, exclusive content, exclusive merch, all that kind of stuff, patreon.com/ThinkTheMakerPod is where you can go to do that. You can also, as the commercials have been telling you throughout this whole thing, get 20% off your first order from Roosevelt's. Beautiful shirt that Mike's wearing, beautiful shirt that Nick's wearing, rsvlts.com. Thank the Maker is the promo code. Do it. We have a quote of the week, which we haven't had in a very long time. Ryan Key, is this your department?
Yes, please hold.
What could it be?
Okay.
It's a quote from the show.
Yeah.
I love that it is. Sometimes even the right reasons have the wrong consequences. What do we do then? Ahsoka.
Immediately, I was like, that's it. That's the quote. That's the one.
Lady Tano.
Lady Tano.
Man.
All right, dudes, I love you.
I love you.
This is like an old school Thank the
love
Maker
Ahsoka.
episode, man. An hour and a half? Look at you guys.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man.
Sorry,
Love
babe.
this.
I didn't even have to pee until like 10 minutes ago. So I'm extra
great.
proud of myself.
That's great.
All right, everybody, thanks again for listening. And until next week, may the force be with you.